I think Canadian families are looking really closely at all of their expenses. I personally, as a mother and wife, look carefully at my credit card bill once a month. And last Sunday, I said to the kids, you're older now, you don't want to watch Disney anymore. Let's cut that Disney Plus subscription. So we cut it.
This week, Chrystia Freeland will be heading to Davos to meet with various global leaders, finance ministers, and CEOs of major corporations at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting, which actually began last week. Chrystia will be speaking at two events. The first one, called Restoring Security and Peace, focuses on the war in Ukraine and how it has exacerbated a fragile geopolitical landscape. Chrystia has been a very vocal supporter of giving more aid to Ukraine, and she often cites her Ukrainian roots. And the second event she's going to speak at is called Women's Leadership Towards Parity and Power. It's billed to focus on driving growth, equity, and transformative solution to today's challenges with gender diverse leadership across the economic chain. Who knows what will ultimately come of these panels? Probably nothing, but it gives Chrystia an opportunity to get up on the proverbial soapbox, something that in the past she has demonstrated a willingness to embrace. Whether it's telling Canadians she manages a $2 trillion economy like she manages her family's finances, where she opts to cancel her Disney Plus account, or justifying a $2 billion slush fund by patronizing senators who ask basic questions. It sometimes feels like Chrystia throws herself in a punching bag and gets Justin Trudeau to hang it so that the right media can come and beat the crap out of her like a Tae Bo workout. It almost feels like Chrystia is intentionally trying to take the blows for Justin, but then I remember that JT went and got that Dumb and Dumber haircut, at which point that theory goes down the drain. Speaking of Justin, he will not be at the event, but he did speak at it back in 2018. Conversely, on the other side of the political aisle, Pierre Poilievre has come out and said that no conservatives will be attending the event, which I gotta tip my hat to Pierre. That's the appropriate decision, both morally, ethically, and most importantly, optically, which is what politics is all about. I'm not a huge fan of Pierre, and I'll save that for another video. He just gives me this vibe that, I don't know if you remember the episode from The Simpsons where Lisa discovers that nerds give off a scent called Poindexteros. Well, every time I see Pierre, I just get this vibe that if I were ever around him, he would put off a scent that would make me grab him by the back of the underwear and shove it over his greasy, slick back hair.
The bully has caught my scent, and she's at maximum rage.
Speaking about punching bags and the World Economic Forum, let's talk Klaus Schwab for a minute. Schwab has been one of the most memeified people on the internet for the time that the World Economic Forum posted an idea that a bunch of people eating bugs for protein could be a good idea. Another conspiracy theorist favorite was the time that he commented on the pandemic, saying it represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. This week's event comes on the heels of the World Economic Forum issuing a 98-page report highlighting what they view as the major risks to the global economy. They warn of polycrises with two main concerns. The first one, climate change, and the second one being natural resource shortages. And when you think about it, to some extent at least, these risks work against each other. I think most reasonable people can agree that fossil fuels are bad for the environment. But also, I think that most reasonable people can agree that we've sort of structured our technological world and economies around fossil fuels. And getting away from fossil fuels isn't something that we can just do overnight. Last year at the event, former presidential hopeful John Kerry said, "We realize that countries are concerned over energy security, but we can't jeopardize the planet by investing in legacy fossil fuel projects that will cause irreparable damage." This attitude from Kerry is very common at the event. This political elite, who is married to the heir of the Heinz ketchup fortune, wants to tell you that he's okay with paying more for fossil fuels because it's better for the environment. This attitude from Kerry is very common at the event. We have a bunch of attendees boarding private jets and then lobbying for economic decisions that benefit them, which will have a massive impact on the rest of us. You know, those of us who can't afford to drink expensive vintage wine, stay at 5-star hotels, and fly around the world just to talk about ideas. You can't help but feel a little bit icky about the whole thing. It's almost like we're being controlled by global elites or something. And if you think that we don't have corporate interests influencing political decisions, then explain to me why almost every CEO of every major oil company is there every single year. The point is this: many of the decisions and potential collaborations being influenced are made without the public's consent. The event will see various political leaders mingling with the CEOs of major corporations, including Bank of Montreal CEO Darrell White. At a pre-meeting press conference last week, Klaus Schwab said that this year's event will see unprecedented participation of dozens of finance ministers and foreign ministers from around the world. But if you ask me, you have a right to be upset that your government is sending political officials to go and rub elbows with a bunch of wealthy individuals and CEOs in an attempt to influence global political policy. Again, because none of these people were elected by us, the people. As for Chrystia, who knows? Maybe Bob Iger will make an appearance and Chrystia can renegotiate her Disney Plus bill. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. Should we be worried about the World Economic Forum? Would you eat bugs? Should we be upset that our government is sending elected officials to this event? Is Disney Plus worth the money? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, everybody, I love you. And if you could like this video and share it, it's always appreciated.